arrived at the popular Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Interlagos, Sao Paulo for the running of the Brazilian Grand Prix, the final race of the season, where the Constructors' Championship will be decided this week. Coming into this week, the final 4 seats for 2020 have been confirmed, so without further ado, let's get cracking. We will start off with Alfa Romeo, as both of their seats were still up for grabs going into this. They have announced after so much speculation that Brazilian Gabriel Gomez and Italian Andrea Verderi will remain with the team for another season. Andrea has had a good rookie season despite a few shaky moments in the second half of the season. He currently lies 11th in the Drivers' Championship, 14 points behind McLaren driver Kirishima De Rosa, and his team Alfa Romeo lie 5th in the Constructors, where they are embroiled in a huge battle for 5th with Renault, Racing Point and Toro Rosso. Andrea has had a lot of good performances, with Bahrain being the most notable, where he finished 5th after an impressive showing throughout the race. Andrea will be relieved to know that he will still be with Alfa Romeo next season, and he'll be looking to continue the momentum he has had recently into 2020. In terms of Gabriel Gomez, who will once again partner alongside the Italian, he has had a shaky season, with the huge crash he had at Abu Dhabi adding to that fact. He currently lies 12th in the Drivers' Championship, 1 point ahead of George Roque, and as we mentioned earlier with Andrea, his team Alfa Romeo are currently involved in a huge battle for 5th in the Constructors. Whilst his season has been shaky, his second half of the season has been a bit of a redemption for Gabriel, particularly in Monza and Yeohdam, where he finished 6th and 4th respectively after an impressive drive in both of those races. Gabriel will be relieved to still be in the top class next season, along with his Brazilian fans who will have 2 drivers to support next season, with 2019 GP2 champion Dudu Kirby being confirmed a few weeks ago to be driving for Haas, and he'll be looking to put the 2019 season behind him and move on to 2020. The second team news of the day comes from the renamed AlphaTauri, as after so much speculation, they have announced that German superstar David Kupak will remain with the team for another season. David has had flashes of brilliance in 2019, despite a lot of bad luck that has curtailed him during the season. He currently lies in a frustrated 18th in the Drivers' Championship, tied for 17th with Jared Fosbury, and his team Toro Rosso lie 8th in the Constructors, with a good chance to finish 5th by the end of tomorrow. David's season has been riddled with a lot of bad luck, even in races where he looked like he was going to get a good result. His memorable moment of the season came during qualifying in the first race at Australia, where in changeable conditions he was able to qualify his Toro Rosso in 3rd place, with him looking like he was going to get a high result in the race before losing his front wing after a collision with Miklos Gal. David will be relieved to know that he will still be in the top class next season, and he'll be looking to put the frustration of this season behind him and have a better season in 2020. He will partner alongside Chris Chatfield, who will be leaving Haas after this race to join the renamed AlphaTauri next season. The final team news of this year's silly season comes from Ferrari, as after weeks of speculation, they have announced that former McLaren driver Roberto Gamba will return to the top class in 2020 with the prancing horse. Roberto has had a redemption year this season after missing out on a top class drive for 2019. He finished 5th in the DTM Championship this season, tied in 3rd with the Audi of Halil Shahin and the BMW of Alessandro Tomaselli. Despite not achieving a win during the course of the season, Roberto showed amazing pace, with him taking 3 podiums during the course of the season and taking 2 pole positions, which came at Aragon and Paul Ricard. He was also for this season signed up as the Haas test and reserve driver, which saw him take part last week during the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix practice session, where he finished 20th. Roberto will be happy to know that he will be back in the top class next season, and he'll be looking to redeem himself at Ferrari next season. He will replace 2-time world champion Joseph Willows, who will be leaving Ferrari after 9 seasons to return to McLaren, and Roberto will partner alongside Laura Chong, who will remain with the team for another season. With these newses out of the way, we now have a complete grid for 2020. So just to recap, here are the teams and drivers for 2020 in current Constructors' Championship order. Mercedes will retain their lineup of newly crowned champion Franco Lopez and Britt Armar. Ferrari will retain Laura Chong, and she'll be joined by the returning Roberto Gamba. Red Bull will retain their lineup of 2011 GP2 champion Franco Gamba and 2009 world champion Miklos Gal, who will remain with the team for the 9th successive season. McLaren will retain Kirishima De Rosa, and he'll be joined by 2-time world champion Joseph Willows, who will return to McLaren for the first time since 2010. Alfa Romeo will retain their lineup of 2017 DTM champion Gabriel Gomez and Italian Andrea Verderi. Renault will retain Irish veteran Evan Byrne, and he'll be joined by Italian superstar Paolino Tomaselli. Racing Point will retain their lineup of Hungarian Roland Motrin and 4-time race winner George Roque. The renamed AlphaTauri will retain German driver David Kupak, and he'll be joined by current Haas driver Chris Chatfield. Haas will once again have a brand new lineup consisted of newly crowned champions in their own right, which are 2019 DTM champion Daniel Fraser and 2017 BTCC and 2019 GP2 champion Dudu Kirby. Williams will retain German veteran Felix Sonntag, and he'll be joined by up-and-coming Welshman Jamie Griffiths, and Manor will retain 2018 DTM champion Rosetta Martinez, and he'll be joined by 2019 Formula E champion Amelia Wilson, as the Yorkshire-based team will enter its final season in the top class. With the lineup being confirmed, we now know that along with Matteo Catalan, who missed out on the sign-ups, these 4 drivers will also not be on the top class grid in 2020. These being Manor's Maxim Titkov, Williams' Lincoln Parner, Haas's Jared Fosbury, and the biggest one of course being 2-time world champion Jay McKenzie, making it the first ever time in top class history that a top class champion has missed out on a drive. These 4 drivers could end up being test drivers at certain teams next season, but whether they will or not remains to be seen. They could also end up being in another tier next season, but again, that also remains a question. On the topic of test drivers, only 3 teams have already confirmed their test drivers for 2020, and they are on your screen right now. Mercedes will once again have Rivki Fakhrizadeh as their test driver, McLaren will have Jake Galloway, who finished 4th in the GP2 Championship this season, and Renault will have 2019 BTCC champion Jesus Perinen. The other 8 teams, Ferrari, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, Racing Point, AlphaTauri, Haas, Williams and Manor, are still yet to announce their test drivers for 2020. Some drivers will be offered test roles after the qualifying session for the Brazilian Grand Prix has finished, so if any of you have not been offered a test role yet, keep an eye out on your Twitter, Discord or even on your notification bell on YouTube, as you could be offered with a test role later on tonight. The remaining test drivers will be confirmed on Friday via the GP4OC Twitter account. In other news, the lineups for the 2020 GP2 season has been confirmed, and just like the last few seasons, here is our GP2 commentator Robert Ionescu to go through the teams and drivers for 2020.
Thank you, Joe. 2019 GP4OC GP2 Championship ended in dramatic fashion. Dudu Kirby collided with Jamie Griffiths at high speed in Brazil, and also Thomas Anderson retired with an engine failure. Kirby ended up winning the championship, Anderson finishing 2nd and Griffiths finishing 3rd. All 3 of these guys have left GP2. 2 of them, those being Kirby and Griffiths, have moved on to the top class. Anderson has retired from the OC fraternity altogether. Now then, we have to talk about the lineups for this season, of course. And MP Motorsport are the first team, after a dramatic finale, where they clinched the Constructors' Championship out of nowhere. Ruslan Procuk finished 4th in that race in Brazil, which was enough to give MP Motorsport the title. Speaking of Procuk, he is being retained by the team. The man who got his first win in Hungary will be partnered by Mark Vukalovic, another race winner from last season, of course. MP have a very solid lineup, and they'll be hoping to get their 2nd title in a row. Up next is Art Grand Prix. They have a whole new lineup. Watzel, unfortunately, he did not secure a seat in GP2, and Anderson, as I mentioned, has left the OC fraternity. So who have Art Grand Prix brought in to replace them? Well, it is Matu Quadras from Formula E, the Spaniard, making the step up, and alongside him, a former GP2 driver who previously competed in Formula E in 2019. He's also making his return, that being Luca Farina. It is a whole new lineup for Art Grand Prix, and they'll be hoping to take back the title that they lost to MP. It'll be very interesting for sure. Next is the team that used to be known as Arden, which won the Drivers' Championship with Dudu Kirby, let's not forget. Now they have a different name, because now they go by BWT HWA Race Lab. Nicholas Zorbach has made the move over to HWA, so he'll be looking to have a good season with his new team, and partnering him will be a Brit in the name of Alex Broster, the rookie making the step up from Formula E. He'll be hoping to have a good one. Next is Zorbach's former team, Carlin. And Carlin have secured the services of the man who finished 4th in the championship, that being Jake Galloway. With everyone who finished in front of him now no longer in GP2, Galloway might as well be the best placed to have a chance for a title. We'll have to wait and see. Alongside Galloway, it is another rookie making the step up from Formula E, that being Hento Shinonome, the first Japanese driver in GP2 for a while, and I'm hoping he'll have a good season, of course. Now then, up next is Prema. For the 3rd season in a row, they have the same lineup. No, actually they don't, I'm just joking. They don't have the same lineup as before, but one of their drivers has remained. Here we have Prema. Benz Wallinger is the one who's remained. He's kept his seat at the team, and alongside him, it is another rookie from Formula E, that being Santino Andgoli. The young Frenchman will be making his GP2 debut, and he'll be hoping to impress. Now then, up next, we're gonna move on to Campos. Campos have retained Lorenzo Tomaselli. Tomaselli was the best qualifier in 2019, and he'll be looking to have a shot at the title next season. Alongside him, though, It's someone you would have probably not expected. It's his own cousin, former GP2 driver and current DTM driver Alessandro Tomaselli. He's making his return to GP2 to compete alongside his cousin Lorenzo, so that will be very interesting to see what happens. Now then, up next is Untitled Virtuosi. Their former lineup was Rahul Patel and Max Skillen. Well, Rahul Patel, fortunately for him, he has remained at the team. Virtuosi scored points every single race in 2019. They'll be hoping they can do the same in 2020. And alongside Rahul Patel is someone who dominated BTCC, that being Jesus Perignon. Perignon is quite famous for single-handedly winning his team the team's championship in BTCC. They'll be hoping to bring his skills to the open wheelers. Now then, up next, we have Trident. They have a whole new lineup of drivers just moving to other teams. I mentioned earlier that Prima changed their lineup. Well, that's because Aaron Curtis has moved on to Trident. Alongside him, Joe Warson, he drove for Rapax in 2019. Obviously, Rapax doesn't exist anymore, so Warson has found a seat at the Trident team. Now then, up next is Charoux Racing System. They have a whole new lineup. Gabriel Quintino, who finished last season, unfortunately wasn't able to secure a seat. And for some reason, Chuck McCarthy was not able to get a seat either. As a result, they had two vacancies, which they filled quite quickly. Jose Frederic Suto, the Slovakian driver from Formula E, has made a step up to the team, and alongside him is a DTM driver, the Icelander, Johan Persson. It's a brand new lineup, both of them rookies, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Have Charoux struck gold with this one? We'll have to wait and see. Up next is Dams. Brazil race winner, Dennis Graf, has made a change to the Dams team. I'm afraid Dams have gotten rid of both Adventure and Fast Ray. They have both been replaced. And alongside him is a rookie making the step up from BTCC. It's the Czech driver Wojtek Kulasic. Kulasic will be his first season. He'll be hoping to perform as strong as he can. Finally, I would talk about Rapax, but Rapax are gone. So who's coming to replace them? Why, it's Hi-Tech, of course. Hi-Tech Grand Prix are the brand new team. And their first season, they have hired Max Skillen to drive from them. The man who drove for Untitled Virtuosi last season has a seat in GP2 still, and alongside him is going to be a Slovakian driver. Actually, we're gonna have two Slovakians on the grid, but the second one is making the step up from BTCC. It is Adam Chobot. It is a very interesting lineup in my opinion.
Thank you for that, Rob, and one more question before you leave. With the lineup being confirmed, who do you think will be the early favourite to win the title, or do you think it's too early to call at this moment?
Obviously, there are some things you can't ignore, which are there are some guys who have had a very strong season last time out. Those including Galloway, Waldinger, Tomaselli, Patel, Prosic and Kalovic. All of these guys have a very solid shot at perhaps taking the title next season, but it's still all to play for. Anybody could be champion. Dudu Kurbi was a rookie and he won that title. Who knows if someone else will be able to do it in 2020 as well. Either way, regardless what happens, it'll be very interesting, and those are the GP2 lineups.
Well, hopefully it should be another exciting season of GP2. Same time next season, Rob?
Of course, absolutely, Joe. Thank you very much for having me.
Alright, well thank you again, Rob, and whilst we are on the topic of GB2, one other name that wasn't mentioned was Thomas Pascal, as like with Thomas Anderson and Chuck McCarthy, he also didn't sign up for 2020 either, and so like with everyone else who has missed out on a drive in either the top class or GP2, they will have to sign up for either DTM, Formula E or BTCC, with the DTM sign-ups closing tomorrow, a few minutes after the top class finale at Brazil draws to a close, and the Formula E and BTCC sign-ups closing a few days after the season draws to a close. So if anyone hasn't signed up yet for either one of those three tiers, you need to be quick. Whilst we are on the topic of the lower tiers, we might as well talk about some news regarding Formula E, as something big is happening to that series from the 2020 season onwards. During the last couple of seasons of Formula E, there has been some criticism about the lack of racing the series sometimes produces due to some of the tracks they visit. Host JW97, which is me, has taken the feedback on board and has decided from next season to have a radical change to the calendar. These radical changes being that the Formula E fraternity will be visiting more permanent racetracks on the calendar. Formula E's DNA in real life has always been to race on street circuits or on racetracks which have street-like characteristics. Formula E for GP4OC has only visited 4 permanent racetracks over its lifespan, which has consisted of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico, the fictional Sunob circuit in Tahiti, the Anderstorp circuit in Sweden, and the Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Spain. From the 2020 season onwards, there'll be a lot more permanent racetracks on the calendar, with only a few street circuits being added to spice things up. On your screen right now is the 2020 Formula E calendar, which is being revealed before the 2020 Formula E lineup gets confirmed. There will be 13 races in total, with it covering all of the continent apart from Antarctica for obvious reasons. 4 races will take place in the Americas, 1 race will take place in Africa because there is only one African track on Grand Prix 4, 4 races will take place in Europe, and the final 4 races will happen in Asia/Oceania. The 3 continents which have 4 races will have a street circuit, meaning only 3 street tracks will be on the calendar. So what do you make of this new look Formula E calendar? Because personally, I am very much looking forward to it. And finally, in other news, with only the Constructors' Championship left to fight for, we might as well follow up on a story that broke last week regarding the state of the Dutch Grand Prix. For anyone who is unaware, during the GP2 qualifying session at Interlagos, specifically when GP2 host Dioka was having technical problems with his Discord, top class host Yuri broke the news on Discord that the Dutch Grand Prix was under threat again from the 2020 calendar due to a major bug that appeared on the circuit. The bug involved the first pit box, specifically belonging to Mercedes. For whatever reason, whenever any of the 2 Mercedes drivers entered the pit, they would always get stuck, a bit similar to a bug that Formula E had in 2017 at the Valencia street circuit. For the last few weeks, Yuri along with GP2 and DTM host Dioka have been working hard to try and find a fix to the problem. And thankfully, I am delighted to say that thanks to this gameplay that I have received recently from Yuri, we can confirm the Dutch Grand Prix will still go ahead after GP2 and DTM host Dioka was able to find a fix to the problem, which means that the Mercedes drivers will no longer get stuck in the first garage. There were a number of options that were being flown around in case the issue couldn't be solved, which included replacing the Grand Prix with another race, ditching the round completely, making it a 20 race calendar, to even allowing GP2 and DTM host Dioka to host the top class for only the Dutch Grand Prix, in a move which would have been similar to what Dioka did in Yuri's concept series in Kyalami in South Africa. However, thanks to the fix that was found, those options no longer need to be considered. With Zandvoort and Portimao making their debuts in the top class next season, we are hoping that both of them put on the show in the top class's final season of the real life era before moving to the fantasy era. And that is it, not just for this week, but also from Series 7 of the GP4OC News. I would like to take this time to thank Yuri yet again for allowing me to do this series for the team news, and I would like to thank everyone for the continued support of this series. It's been another interesting silly season, and I cannot wait to continue this for many seasons to come. The GP4OC News will return midway in 2020, where we will have another 10 episodes to determine the lineup for the 2021 season, which will see a new dawn for GP4OC as the series switches to the fantasy era, so do be on the lookout for that in the future. But until then, I have been JW97, enjoy the top class finale here in Brazil, and hang on a minute, cut the music. Why are the graphics getting bigger? Did someone press a button by mistake? No? So why is it... Oh my god. Everyone duck. It's gonna blow! Is everyone okay? Everyone okay? Okay, good. Seems we are all okay. Doesn't seem like anything has been damaged, so let's clear this smoke, shall we? What the... What the hell is going on?